So a lot of agents have been asking me, yo, skills, if you're a lower level and you want to create some type of skill build to clear these harder difficulties out with using 4 or even 5 directives, what kind of build would you use? So here is a build that is going to do just that. This build puts out so much skill damage that a lot of times you're really the support to this, right? How skill damage builds work, right? My capacitor is hitting, but the most of the damage is actually coming from my skills themselves. And currently we have a directive called Cool Skills where your refresh time actually comes by picking up the little green symbols, right? You can see I have one right here. So as soon as your skill goes down, you'll have it back instantly, which is actually pretty good, especially if you guys want to run something with 4 directives. Now, if you want to run 5 directives, well, you could swap out the main weapon I'm using now and run a pistol like the TDI card. And I'll explain that in the video itself. But overall, this video is just to show you that if you are lower level, you guys can run this. Now, you guys might say, but skills, you're 5,000. Well, the good thing about skill builds is, number one, you only lose, say if your watch level is low, you only lose 10% skill damage, which is gonna be the biggest thing that you're gonna lose. You do get 10% skill haste and duration, but again, like I said, you don't even need any of those, especially with the directives that we have current now. And with the build itself, you have a pretty low cooldown time anyway on the skills. So losing technically 10% skill damage, you're gonna gain it from all the other buffs. And this build will allow you to clear these control points, I would say about 2 to 3 minutes. This one took us about 3 minutes to clear. And I think that was more because some of the NPCs wanted to take cover, but we cleared the first part pretty fast and then we end up clearing the second one. And this one takes a little bit longer just depending on what doors they spawn out of. But you can see these elite enemies are just going down so quick. As soon as they pop their head out and the skills are pushing them, they just start to go down really, really fast. And the cool thing about when you have 2 damage skills, you can focus one and then focus 2 different enemies at the same time. And they're still gonna put out damage. But yeah, again, the longest was just waiting for the enemies to keep coming. You can see we were waiting here a little bit. So we probably could have cleared this one or a different control point probably in the 2 to 3 minute range, just like this one. But overall, not bad at all, as you guys have seen here. It honestly wasn't any trouble at all. And the great thing about this is these skills definitely have some nice range to them. So even at distance, they're already locking on to the targets. And when you have both skills hitting one target, they just pretty much disappear. Yeah, you see that, boom, boom, boom. And then we just have one more. So if you guys want to see the build, we're going to show you in just a second, but just want to show you guys a little bit of gameplay. Remember, in the breakdown, I will tell you guys different options you have if you don't have certain pieces. So just listen to those, and that way you guys can, you know, tweak the builds yourself, and hopefully you guys can create something that's pretty cool. See, I had to get my skills back. I just picked up 2 of those green little trophies, and then it's gonna reset, and then we just have him right here. Then I have one more, gotta pick up here, boom, then I drop it, and then the skills are just gonna do its work. That simple. But let's get into the build. So a lot of you guys want to know what build that was, so let's dive right. So for the specialization, we are going to be running the technician class. This is going to give us 10% skill damage along with 1 skill tier, allowing us to run 1 blue, as you guys can see, and 5 yellows, but still reaching the cap of 6 skill tier because of the technician class. For the master, we're running Empress International. This is where we have our armor roll. We're gonna have a 3-piece Empress International. You're gonna get that 10% skill health, 10% skill damage, and then skill efficiency, which is skill haste, skill damage, status effects. It's all the goodies right there. So yeah, this is actually why skill efficiency is so good. So we're not only getting more damage with the 2-piece, but more damage with the 3-piece. So we have armor rolled on here, skill damage, we have armor regen, we have 1 armor regen rolled on here, and then I'll show you where else we have armor regen, and we have 12% protection from elites. If you don't want to run protection from elites, you can actually put crit chance here, and it'll allow you to hit a little bit harder and maybe crit with your capacitor. For the chest piece, we're running our 2nd piece of Empress International. This is going to have skill tier, skill damage, skill haste, and then I have another protection from elites mod here. Now again, you can run crit chance here if you would like. We have kinetic memento. When in combat, each skill generates a stacked while active and not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1%, total skill repair by 2%. up to 15 stacks per skill, and then it is lost on cooldown. We are running one exotic piece, and this is the piece that you guys, if you don't have it, you guys can actually swap this out. For instance, if I didn't have a waveform holster, I would probably run a different two-piece, something that gives you some skill damage, and I'll show you that in just a second. But for the waveform holster, we have skill tier, skill damage, skill haste, and the reason why this one's so good is because it generates a stack of 3% skill damage on one of your skills every second, but it does cap at 10 stacks, and then it swaps back to the other. So at any given moment, you can have up to 30% skill damage on one skill, and then it'll slowly go down, and you might have 15% on each, and then it'll go up, and then you'll have 30% on the other and 0 on one. But this is actually really good, especially if you're running some type of skill damage like I'm doing with, I'm running the assault turret and then the assault drone. So we have the Empress International Guard right here, and what this is going to do is going to give us 20% skill duration. It's going to allow those skills to stay up longer, right? So you don't have to worry about getting them back quicker. Now we do have skill tier on here. We have armor regen and we have skill damage, and that's what we're getting, that 1% armor regen, and I'll show you our full armor regen in just a second. For our gloves, we are running the Empress International, so this is our third piece giving us that skill efficiency. We have skill tier, skill haste, and skill damage right here. And then for the backpack, we have a one-piece wyvern wear that gives us another 10% skill damage. So we have skill tier, skill haste, skill damage, and then we have a protection from elites mod. This is where if you don't have these protection for elites, or you want to put a little bit more damage on your capacitor and you want to be able to crit with it, put crit chance. And then we have tech support, skill kills, increase total skill damage by 25%. The reason I like this is because if I'm not shooting, I'm always going to have that guaranteed skill damage of 25% for 25 seconds as long as this is active. But this is just something, it's up to you guys. But yeah, that 25% is pretty good. And some people like other talents. I like talents that help my skills put out damage without me having to put out too much. But with the capacitor, yes, you're going to be trying to hit, and I'll show you that gun in a second. So for the skills, we are running the assault turret, which I was telling you guys before. We have a tier 6. So this one's going to be doing 132,000 damage without any of the buffs. So that's pretty good. And you're going to see the buffs get even stronger with the capacitor, and I'll show you in a second. And then we have the striker drone, and that's going to give us 70,000 base damage. Duration on is 290 seconds, 15-second cooldown, and then obviously 14-second cooldown right here. Now I will tell you, if you guys are running a 4 directives on, you guys know the cool skill ones is actually pretty easy to keep your skills up, especially as you guys saw in the gameplay. I was just running and picking them up, but so that's how it would work if you have that directive active. So for the skills, we are running the capacitor. Now the capacitor is going to be sitting at 88,000 damage, 41 in the magazine, and then we have 16% expertise on this. Is really up to you. The main damage is going to be coming from your skills, but yeah, if you guys get this up, we have assault damage, assault rifle damage. We have the 9% damage to armor. It won't let me fully optimize this. There's a bug going on right now, but obviously once I can do that, I'll max that out. And then we have 10% damage targets out of cover on this one. I re-rolled this till I got that roll exactly. Now, why is the capacitor good for skill builds? Well, shooting enemies builds a stack up to 40. Each stack grants 1.5% skill damage. So a lot of skill damage for that striker drone and that assault turret. That's why you guys want to get it there. Now, as I was saying, is you're going to have 10% crit chance. You're going to have 30% crit damage and 10% weapon handling. That's why if you don't want to run protection from elites mods, you can run crit chance. And then that would actually put you a little bit higher than 20%. I'm at 20% right now, but imagine if you put three mods on there, your crit chance is going to go up. We have 75% crit damage, 75% headshot damage, 9% armor damage. This is going to go up once I can max mine out. And then if you go over, you'll see we're sitting at 900k armor, and then we have 13,000 armor regen, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it can get you out of those situations where you're taking a lot of damage, you're trying to get a little bit of life. And then look, 37% protection from elite. So if you're doing a lot of heroic control points, this is going to work really well for you. But yeah, that is how I have this set up. Now I am running 4 directives. If you want to run 5 directives, what you can do is just get a TDI card, and then you can actually put another blue on this build somewhere. And what that's going to do is you'll still hit, you'll get a skill tier, you get pistol damage, and then you can put in sync. So then hitting an enemy grants 15% skill damage. Using a non-skill or shield damaging enemy gives you 50% weapon damage. If you're doing both, that's 30% skill damage, 30% weapon damage. So if you guys don't want to run the capacitor because you don't have it, well, you guys can find the TDI card, and this will be a great one for you. And ideally, you can do it whatever. If you want to run 5 directives, then you put the TDI card. If you guys want to run 4 directives and be able to use your capacitor, the capacitor is going to be the best way. But this is the build here, guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, nothing but skills out.